Oh, hello everyone. So this is the time. Godzilla versus Kong. Sigma 35mm 1.2 versus Sony 35mm 1.4 G Master. And let's just roll the intro and I want to show you the sample photos. Bam! So hello everyone, my name is Magic. I'm a wedding photographer, Sony Europe ambassador, a father of 4, and I do welcome you to my channel. So yeah, for the past few weeks, I've had a pleasure to test out 35 1.4 G Master before its release, and I've shot a bunch of stuff with it, a few sessions. I made a review. That was actually my first video on this channel, and I'm amazed with this lens. But what I was wondering is, how does it perform against what is said to be one of the best 35mm lenses for Sony, Sigma 35 1.2 DGDN art or no art? I'm not sure. I think art. So I got this lens and I made a few test photos. I made some test portrait, detail shots, bokeh shots, so we can see all of that in the video. And I do really want to show up these photos right away. I'm just gonna start with the obvious difference about these lenses. So 1.2 is a huge lens. It's almost exactly 2 times the weight of 35 1.4 G Master. It's like 30% bigger. It has 82 millimeters diameter on the front versus 67 diameters in G Master. So basically we're talking about the beast and a really compact, nice beast. So for those of you who really want that magical aperture 1.2, it does come with a price, and that price is the weight and the size of this lens, because the price money-wise is almost the same for both of these lenses. So that's why I'm kind of comparing them to each other instead of comparing 35 1.4 Sony versus 1.4 Sigma. So 1.2, it's only 1/3 of a stop better than 1.4. So the difference is even smaller than between 1.4 and 1.8. But what does it exactly mean in the photos? Let's just see. All right, so what we are looking at are a sample photos that I've shot, all of them using a tripod. So the first thing worth noticing that all the shots, both with Sony and Sigma, are taken from the same exact spot. So frame should be exactly the same. Also, my wife in the portraits was standing in the very same position. And of course, my Legos, they did not move as well. So if you see any difference in terms of the framing and the frame overall, it's gonna be the difference in geometry of these two lenses. The second thing worth mentioning is that all the photos that we're looking at are edited. I edited them as I edit all my photos with my presets, because I just like comparing the final product, so like the photos that I will be using later on. If you're after some straight out of camera photos or some raw photos, there are a few samples that you can download from my website. The link is in the description. And the third thing regarding the edit, so all of them have the same settings. Some of them I corrected just in exposure, just to have like the same brightness in all of the photos, but all the other parameters stay the same, including lens correction turned off, and including white balance. So what you're gonna see also in these photos is gonna be a difference between the colors, and this is also because of the difference in these two lenses. So what are my thoughts? How much are they different? So first of all, obviously 1.2 versus 1.4, you get that little smoother background bokeh using a Sigma lens, but the difference is not that big. I tried taking a few photos, one with my Ghostbuster Lego team lined up, just to see if the depth of field is going to be different, but I truly don't see the difference being that big. Also, I use my favorite metric tool to check the depth of field, which is a Telecaster guitar. So I manually focused on the 12th fret just to see the difference between depth of field. But yeah, again, the difference is not that big. What you are actually seeing in most of these photos is that the Sony lens is a sharper lens than Sigma, which is kind of maybe not unexpected, but like as far as I used that Sigma lens before, and I know my friends using this lens, it is, you know, it is told to be a really sharp lens, but maybe it's sharp when you compare it to a softer lenses. But then when you put it head to head with Sony G Master 35, the G Master is like crazy sharp. Like I already told that in my review in my previous video, that I have never seen a lens sharp like this. Probably this is Sony getting ready for some next super high megapixel cameras, and you can definitely see that in these photos that Sony lens is sharper. Okay, the next thing I noticed is the barrel distortion of a Sigma lens. By looking at the photos, you might get the impression that my wife in the portrait was standing closer to the lens when I was using Sigma lens. But what's in fact happening is that we get that little barrel distortion. So we get that center of the photo being like kind of warped, which is something that you can correct later on a little bit, but you know, you won't get the pieces of the information that you've lost. So for example, you see the photo with the hat, with the 35 G Master, the hat is perfectly in the frame, leaving some space between the hat and the sky, while with Sigma 1.2, you get it cutted. So even if you correct that, you know, lines and straighten them up a little bit, you'll still, you know, lose information in general. So it's really interesting because the angle of the both of the lenses seems to be the same. You can see like the frame starting and ending in the very same position in terms of a background, but then you see that little shift of a geometry and like a different perspective. It might also come down to that effect that you will get with Sigma 1.2 while shooting in a specific situations, that you get that little more swirly bokeh, you know what I mean? Like that little more round bokeh, and it's probably because of that barrel distortion. You can also see that in this photo of a brick wall that I've shot without any corrections turned off. So you basically see the difference between Sony and Sigma here very clearly. But then let's look at the bokeh balls. So with 1.2 lens, they seem to be a little bit bigger. So that's something that you'd probably expect from a brighter lens. You get that tiny bit of a onion effect, but it's not as big as Distagon. You can see that in my 35 1.4 review video. And the shape in 1.2 lens is a little bit more oval, while 1.4 G Master has the mole round balls of bokeh. The next thing that I want to mention is the difference in the color temperature. So Sigma lens look a little warmer than a Sony lens. So as I said before, all of these photos have the same white balance set up. So the difference here is like clearly the difference of the lens. And this is something that you can obviously change in the edit, right? But it's still worth mentioning. And I think that's it in terms of, you know, image quality and difference between these two lenses as far as I see, at least. There are three observations though that I want to mention here about working with these two lenses. So in terms of AF system, they both seem to be like excellent. I haven't had any problems with any of it. Sigma is amazing in terms of AF system, and like every time when it says it's gonna focus, it's focusing right in the eye. All of the photos I took with it are sharp. The same comes with Sony. Both are extremely fast. I tried to trick them a bit by moving really fast, but they both seem to be following you know, with the focus really, really well. The second thing would be lens breathing. So what I noticed is that the Sony lens has this effect of focus breathing. Whenever you change your focus from front to back, it's gonna shift a angle a little bit, so it's quite annoying, especially for video. This is something that it's been like a known issue for like a 24 G Master lens, so it might have something to do with that compact size of the lenses themselves. Like these two represent like really like a new niche of really compact fast primes. Maybe that's the one part that Sony decided to sacrifice for the other stuff. For me, it's a no problem at all. I don't shoot a lot of video except these videos. I'm just taking photos. Sigma though doesn't have this problem. At least it isn't that noticeable. So there's also like a tiny focus breathing, but if you don't want that effect at all, probably you'd be better off with like Sony 35 1.8 lens, which is amazing in terms of that. It's like tiny lens. Of course, it's lower than 1.2 and 1.4, but then you don't have this effect at all. And the last but not least, except the photos that I've shot with both of these lenses on tripod, I took this one bad boy, for a more of a normal shooting scenario. So I was just holding a camera in one hand and tried to shoot some portraits of my wife, walking, looking, moving out. And to be honest, the size and weight of this lens is too much for me. So personally, after 2-3 minutes, I already could feel that this lens is just like kind of heavy on me. So this is something that is definitely worth mentioning if you do care about compact size or weight. The Sony G Master would be much better choice. Like the Sigma is twice as heavy and you can definitely feel that while working in the field. If you're working in like a studio scenario and like using tripod all the time, you won't feel any difference. But still worth mentioning. Yeah, I think this is all. That's it for my comparison. Let me know what do you guys think about these lenses after seeing these samples. Obviously, this is the comparison that I did for myself for the way that I shoot. So it might not cover every need of like comparison that you have. If you have any other ideas what I could check out, let me know. And yeah, check the samples in the description. And thanks so much for watching. See you guys in the next one. And now I'm gonna play with my Legos and lenses. Ciao!